Tonight's lead, the president going on offense. Today in a joint news conference with Britain's Prime Minister, President Obama delivered a message to Congress warning he would veto any new sanctions on Iran because they could damage negotiations over that country's nuclear program.
Congress needs to show patience. With respect to the veto, I said to my Democratic caucus colleagues yesterday that I will veto a bill that comes to my desk. And I will make this argument to the American people as to why I'm doing so.
It's the latest in a string of veto threats, aimed mainly at stopping a series of right-wing bills in their tracks. And it's in line with the aggressive strategy the president outlined in a closed-door meeting with Senate Democrats. According to two in attendance, the president said, quote, "I'm not going to spend the next 2 years on defense. I'm going to play offense." The strategy includes vetoes, a bold economic agenda he'll outline in next week's State of the Union, and new executive actions, like one today on police militarization. It's ambitious, and it's in stark contrast to what we're seeing from the GOP. So far, the newest idea to come from their retreat is old and stale. Politico reports, quote, "If you listen to them at their annual retreat on Thursday, only one person could scuttle everything: President Barack Obama." It's the Obama excuse.
The president's focus is on the past, on the old politics of pitting, one set of Americans against the other.
Once again, like on tax reform, the only one of us of 330 million who can sign something into law needs to be a part of the discussion and needs to agree to the outcome.
I just don't understand why every proposal that comes out of the administration is just going to kill thousands and thousands of more American jobs.
It's the GOP's Obama excuse. It's a backward-looking defensive approach to a president who's on the offense. Joining me now are E.J. Dionne and Jason Johnson. Thank you both for being here.
Glad to be here,
with you, Reverend.
E.J., President Obama on the offense, leading up to the State of the Union. What's your take on his strategy here?
Well, I think it's clearly a good strategy when you look at what's happening in the polls. I think before the election, he was really constrained, partly because of where so many of the vulnerable Democratic seats were. And I think Democrats let that fact constrain them too much. Most of the key races were in very conservative states where the president was unpopular, so they held back, particularly, for example, on the immigration executive order. I think now he's looking forward, A, to his retirement and history, B, to an election in 2016 that the Democrats think they can win because it's a nationwide election. And he's picking issues that are popular with people. The idea of providing sick leave to every American is a popular position. The idea of having everybody be able to go 2 years at community college without paying for it is a very popular position. Now, he's not going to win all these things with the Democratic Congress, but he's laying down some markers for what is worth fighting for in the future. And I think people, both among his supporters, who are clearly happy to see him aggressive, but also people who are on the fence who just like the president to show leadership, this is going to work much better than the alternative.
Strong leadership. You know, Jason, Politico has more details about what the president told Democrats in their meeting yesterday. Quote, "Obama vowed to defend his agenda against Republicans in Congress, promised to stand firm against GOP efforts to dismantle his agenda, and called on his Democratic colleagues to help sustain his expected vetoes." This is a battle-hardened White House that's been in a lot of fights with Republicans, isn't it, Jason?
Yeah, I think President Obama has finally learned the lesson that people were wondering when he was going to get when he was elected, which is the opposition wants to see you fail more than they want to pass their own agenda. And I think we're also seeing a bit of a flashback to 2011. President Obama is a terrible frontrunner, But boy, is he a great comeback kid. Because after these midterm elections, that is when we see the more aggressive, sophisticated, and legislatively creative President Obama that many people expected in 2008. Right after they lost the Democrats lost the midterms in 2010, there were all sorts of things in the president's agenda that got done. Now he's been efficient again. I think he's really going to push the ball up the field for the next 2 years and really set things up for the Democratic Party in 2016.
You know, EJ, the president's been touting his economic ideas in a series of remarks ahead of the State of the Union. Listen.
America's resurgence is real. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. I'm going to take a new action to help even more responsible families stake their claim on the middle class and buy their first new home.
Our support and advocacy on behalf of a national 6-day policy all across the country.
I'm announcing an ambitious new plan to bring down the cost of community college tuition in America. I want to bring it down to 0.
Now, these are very popular items that he's talking about, EJ. Wouldn't the Republicans serve themselves well if they got on board with at least some of these things?
Well, I think so, but I'm not sure they think so. I thought at the beginning of that segment, you showed an important clip because it's been very hard for most of the year for the president to brag at all about the economy and the fact that it's come back from a catastrophic point, because most Americans still weren't feeling it or seeing it. What you're seeing from the polls is that there are still a lot of Americans who need their wages boosted, but people are really finally starting to believe that we have come out of the worst of it and that the economy really is growing. That puts the president in a much stronger position to fight for these other things. I think maybe the Republicans will go for the sick leave proposal. If you're pro-family, you ought to be for it. But I am not. I'm not holding my breath to see them pass any of this stuff. I'm afraid.
Jason, you know, The Hill is reporting some in the GOP don't think the House bill attacking the president on immigration can even pass the Senate. Quote, you look at the hand you're dealt, there are not 60 Republicans, so you have to convince 6 Democrats to move with them, said one border state Republican congressman. Pigs will fly out of my rear end before that happens. Is the far right going to see the light on this, or will they lead to further chaos or infighting in the GOP, Jason?
I don't see any flying pigs coming, Rev. I don't think it's going to happen at all.
I was trying to not repeat that line, but go ahead.
You know, I think it's really clear. You know, the Republicans in the Senate, while they are unhappy with the president's agenda and while they have their own ideological plans, they also understand how legislation works. It doesn't take a civics class or Schoolhouse Rock to realize that while the Republicans have the majority, they still do not have enough votes to override a presidential veto. So they have to find some way to work with him. No, the House's attempt to get rid of President Obama's immigration executive order, that's not going to work. No, they're not going to be able to defund Homeland Security. And no, legislatively, they're not going to be able to defund the Affordable Care Act. But what I do think they can find some agreement on is perhaps some energy policy, some tax policy, and I think it's very key to look at these 3 guys. You look at the senators who are running for president in 2016, Rand Paul, Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio. They're going to be at the forefront of the Senate getting things done because they want to look productive when they're telling the American people to put them in the White House.
EJ, before we run out of time, I want to get your take on big news from the Supreme Court today. The court will take up a case on whether same-sex marriage is legal nationwide. The Times writes the court, quote, made it likely that it would resolve one of the great civil rights questions of the age. Your take, TJ.
Well, the betting right now, although it's always dangerous to bet on this Supreme Court, is that there are 5 votes to basically declare gay marriage nationwide. And it is really astonishing. If that is what actually happens, I do not think we have seen a social change of this sort take hold so quickly. 4 years ago, we were nowhere close to this. And not only is it the courts acting, but if the court does act to legalize gay marriage, it will actually reflect an enormous shift in public opinion. This is an astonishing thing that's happened in our country.
This will be a huge ruling. There's no doubt about that. E.J. Dionne and Jason Johnson, thank you both for your time tonight. Have a great weekend.
Great to be
You
with
too,
you,
Reverend.
Reverend. Thanks.